I want to call to order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Aransas Pass, April 15, 2019 at 6 p.m. And let's all rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. And I would like Jesse Martinez to come up and do the invocation.
Move your heads, bow your heads, please. Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for another wonderful day you give us today, Lord. Lord, we ask you to give us wisdom in the decisions we make today and every single day. Lord, we ask you to be with the council members, the mayor, chief of police, and all those that represent our cities. Lord, we just ask that all decisions that are made here are made not only for the city, but for the residents of Aransas Pass. Lord, we just thank you for all the blessings you give us every single day. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now I would like to go to Gary, really quick.
Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you. I want to point out to everyone who is in the audience on the issue of annexation. The annexation issue has never been on the agenda for the open session tonight. There are two public hearings coming up, one on April 30th, the other on May 1st, and we'll be getting input at that time. You're welcome to stay in the meeting, but annexation is not on the agenda, and the council can't comment on annexation because it's not on the agenda in the open meeting portion. So we just want to make you aware of that. Again, you're welcome to stay, but it's not going to be discussed at this particular meeting. It will at the public hearings on April 30th and May 1st. It's either going to be here, but the size of the group will probably have it at the Civic Center or something of that sort. But we haven't determined exactly where. But want to make you aware of that. That's the situation as of tonight. We can't comment on anything related to annexation. We will at the public hearings. Mr. Mayor.
Now we're going to go to presentations and proclamations, and I'm going to go to Chuck.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Am I on?
I don't know. We can't hear you.
Okay, we'll try it.
Okay.
Some time ago, Council approved some financing in the harbor budget for construction of a park within the park down at the Harbor Point. That's proceeding. The Lions Club project is probably 90% done as of this morning. The cementers are ready to pour the second sidewalk as soon as the mud holes rise up enough to get the trucks in. And when I started on this project, I knew what I didn't know. And I contacted a group of ladies made up of membership of the Hibiscus Club of Aransas Pass and the Master Gardeners Association. And I told them I wanted to make something pretty down there, but I didn't know what to do with it. And so they went off and studied and came back 3 weeks later or so with a hand drawing and a plan for what to do. And you've now seen the installation of the 5 new palm trees as well as the first sidewalk and the removal of the billboard. Tonight, I'd like to introduce to you Amy Thurlkill, who's the president of the Aransas Pass Hibiscus Club, to make a presentation on something the club would like to do, and it has my full support. Amy, please come up.
Thank you, Harbor Master. I'm not sure how to
Just tell me when and I'll
work
change it
the.
for you. Just
Oh,
tell-
okay. All right. So I'd like to talk to the City Council, and first of all, I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the Aransas Pass Garden Club. We have decided to, this is a president's project, which we have with every new president incoming. We decide on a project, and this is something that was brought to my attention by some of the other members and is really near and dear to our hearts and will be contingent upon, of course, the buy-in from the city council and also the buy-in from the whole club. And there's about 34 members that we have. We are a 503c1, so we're a nonprofit organization, and everything would be funded totally by public and private donations. So with that, I'd like to start on the first slide, a little bit about the background. This was a program that we picked up in 1944 to establish Blue Star and also Gold Star memorials up and down highways of Texas. Well, actually, throughout the United States. We're talking about Texas here. We adopted this program, and so far we have been installing the Blue Star memorials for more than 70 years on different highways throughout the nation. You can go ahead and change the slide. I'm going to shortcut this. These are the different types of markers. We have the highway marker, Blue Star. We have a memorial marker, which looks very similar to the highway marker, and this would be the one that we would ask that we could install at the harbor. There's also a byway marker that can be installed in like a stone or something like that. It's quite a bit smaller, but next slide, please. The features of it is the marker is about 7.6 feet tall. It's 41 by 45 inches. It's made of aluminum, and it's identical on both sides. And the post that we would install would be about aluminum post, 35 pounds. The whole marker is the $1,580, which would be donated. But also we have installation costs, we have mounting costs, and because we are a member of the national and the state and local garden club, we are mandated to have some type of little garden feature that we can maintain. And we've chosen, of course, to do indigenous plants that are salt tolerant and all that would survive well in the conditions wherever we locate the marker. You can go to the next slide. So these are some of the costs that are associated, and I've estimated around $3,000 is what it's going to take us to raise to actually get the marker made and have it installed. And then the garden, of course, and all the labor is going to be volunteered by between the master gardeners, the design and the installation, and taking care of the garden after it's installed. Next slide, please. This is just future planning types of things that we have to do right now. We're in the fundraising phase, and I won't bore you with all the details. If you would like to know more, I can certainly, email you the list or the presentation if you want to take a look at it. But there's quite a few costs involved included in that $3,000. But like I said, most of the labor will be donated for free. Next, please. And these are some examples of what the marker looks like and some little features that have been installed around it, like the bricks maybe, and some of the people who have served in the past, people who are currently serving, or people, veterans that have passed away. This marker is to represent all of those individuals in any branch of the armed services. This is one example, and then you can just scroll through the pictures. And these are some other examples of the Blue Star being installed on different highways. There's also a dedication ceremony that we put together, and we invite representatives from our state. We would have a band, one of the Navy band or one of the Armed Forces bands. We would have refreshments and hopefully a huge, successful dedication ceremony on the day that we dedicate it. And we're thinking about doing it either before or right after one of the Veterans holidays, either the week before or the week after. We haven't decided. It's going to take us about, I'm estimating, around a year to go through all the phases, get the funding. The main thing is that we have the place, because once we have the site located, then we can start working on the design. And the funding phase will just continue until we have enough funds, or even if we raise more funds, that will go for caretaking in the future. The Garden Club also, we just finished having a very successful event, which is our major fundraiser last Saturday, where we did raise over $3,000. But a large portion of that will go to scholarships for the kids here locally in Aransas Pass. But a portion will be dedicated to or donated out of that fund to the Blue Star Memorial. So we've already got a pretty good start. Anyway, that concludes my presentation, and I want to thank Harbor Master West and thank the City Council for hearing me today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great idea.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I want to make one additional point. As indicated earlier, annexation is not being discussed in the open session. It is being discussed in the closed session, and council may make some decision coming out of closed session. We don't know yet. We can't say that for sure, but just want to make it clear to everyone that not in open session. It'll be discussed in closed session, and there could be some action by the council. We don't know what yet after the closed session. Just want to make that clear. If you want to stay for that, you're welcome to do it. But during the regular meeting portion, it will not be discussed. So I want to take it back to you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Glad to see the turnout. I know they're all here for this next item. Hi. I just want to say that this week is Dispatcher Week. You're about to read a proclamation on that, and I would encourage folks to go online to our Facebook page. You can get to know our dispatchers on a more of a personal level, and some of the information is quite interesting. That I believe that our dispatchers have the hardest job in policing. Mayor?
Okay, now, we're going to, it's Proclamation designating Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. Whereas, though they are rarely seen during emergencies, the men and women serving as public safety telecommunicators throughout our communities are dedicated to saving lives and help to do so every day. Those professionals include 911 operators, dispatchers, and other communications specialists, and are now as the unseen first responders. Public safety telecommunicators provide critical assistance to Texans in times of great need, and with specialized skills and a calm presence have made invaluable contributions to public safety and in our state and our city. Whereas the Commission and state emergency communicators work with local and state governments to ensure Texans have reliable access to emergency telecommunications services. Each year, the Commission designates a week in April for an awareness campaign that highlights the many contributions and achievements of public safety telecommunicators. Whereas, at this time, I encourage all residents of Aransas Pass and Texas to learn more about the important role these professionals play in our everyday lives and extend their appreciation to public safety telecommunicators. Their strengths and expertise in emergency situations ensure help is on the way when need is most. Now, therefore, I, Ramiro Gomez, Mayor of Aransas Pass, do hereby proclaim April 14th through the 20th, 2019 to be Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Aransas Pass, Texas, and urge the appreciate recognition whereof and official recognition whereof I hereby affix my signature this 15th day of April 2019.
Thank you, Mayor. And we have several here if you want to stand up. Can we get a picture with you, Mayor?
Sure.
photobomb it?
Yes, here you go.
Should we photobomb it?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mayor. Okay. Hey, folks, some more seats up front.
Okay, now we're gonna go to board and commission appointments. And it's the Coastal Bend Foundation.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is for the Coastal Bend Foundation, and there are two positions that the city has on the foundation, Jay Attaway, Karen Gale. It's time for reappointment. Both would like to be reappointed if the mayor and council agree to that.
I make a motion that we reappoint Jay Adway and Karen Gale to the Coastal Bend Foundation.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna go to the consent agenda. All of the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately.
I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, I'm going to open up public hearing on the renewal of the conditional use permit to allow Samantha and Kevin Simon to operate a bar at 157 South Commercial, located at the northeast corner of East Yoakum and South Commercial Street. Legal description, Aransas Pass, Townsite, Block 548, Lot 13, 14, 15, and 16.
Thank you very much, Mayor. If we can put it on the first slide, please.
Is that it?
That's fine.
Okay.
So this is just an aerial view of the location. It's off Commercial and Yoakum. It's the little purple square you see there. On the next slide, you will see the picture of the front building as it is now and the lower building. Can you go back one more?
Go back, you say?
On number 4. And the lower building is the left side, the lower picture is the left side on Google Maps. The next picture shows the right side of the building. Number 5, please. The top picture shows what you see on the current, right now, if you drive by, and the lower picture is what Google Maps shows as it is clear. The next slide is their layout. When I passed by the building, the layout that they provided did not seem very clear, so I asked for another one. That would be the next slide. And there's a protrusion near the bathrooms that didn't seem to match the building, so I asked if there was if I could stop by and see the building from the inside. That protrusion by the bathrooms is actually on the opposite side of the building. There's an apartment there. You go to the next slide. This is the closest to what they have in the building, but there's an extension to the building towards the back that there is some apartments that go to the first floor and second floor. There's some doors towards the back of this little layout that apparently the bartender expressed to us that there's stairs that go upstairs to the apartments. And if you go to the next slide, it will show you the downstairs and upstairs and then the side apartment that is on the north side of the building. If you go to the next slide, you will see their hours of operation that they had posted on the building. Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 2 a.m., Saturday 10 to 1 a.m., and Sunday 12 to 2 again. Now, they're zoned general business, and if you go to the next slide, this is some information on what it is that you can have on general business and what it can be used for. And if you go to the next slide, I couldn't get the ordinance of the conditional use permit that they obtained last year. It was very light. There should be an attachment
with your presentations. If not, I have extra to pass out to you all. But I wanted to point out there that there's some conditions on this permit that were not followed. And the first one was that the property shall not be used for any other purpose other than requested, which would be a bar. The hours of operation on the last conditional use permit were from 3 p.m. to 2 a.m., Monday through Saturday, 12 noon to 2 a.m. on Sunday, and all the premises shall be maintained in a clean and neat condition. And on some of those pictures, you can see it does not look that way on one of the sides of the building. On the next slide, I put in some information on a conditional use permit, especially for granting. It's up to periodic review, and any violation of the prior conditions on the conditional use permit, if they are violated, it will be null and void for the next permit period. For renewal, they need to have complied for all the reasons on the original permit, any other information or facts considered by the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. And the applications for renewal of the last conditional use permit need to be submitted 45 days prior to the permit being expired. So upon renewal, the fire chief and I and code enforcement went to the bar to look at the area, and the fire chief came up with some violations. That is the next slide. That should also have been one of the attachments. If you do not have those, I do have copies. It was about 15 pages, 12 violations. Those are all given an opportunity to be fixed, so there are no written violations at the moment. And on the next one is staff recommends denial of the renewal of the conditional use permit due to the conditions of the last permit not being adhered to. So the hours of operation as posted on the bar were not concurrent with the last conditional use permit conditions or the last getting the renewal prior to 45 days. They actually applied for the permit February 28th, which is 10 days after the permit was expired. And also the last one, the premises were not kept in a clean and orderly fashion. There are some conditions that I put in as a staff recommendation. If there was renewal, it would be a 2-year waiting period prior to reapplying. And there are a few conditions. The first one would be that the permit cannot have its listed applicant or listed location changed once granted, so it can't be transferable. The property listed as the conditional use permit should not be used for any other purpose other than that requested, which would be the bar. And the conditional use permit is subject to review and renewal every 12 months. It's allowed by right as the general business district, so they would need to choose whether it should be non-residential use or residential, since they have both in the same building. They continue conditions for adequate required parking. There's no striping in the parking lot at the moment. The trash receptacles are in view, so I would ask that they get screened off from all areas. The hours operation should be the same as the last conditional use permit, from 3 p.m. to 2 a.m. Monday through Saturday and 12 to 2 to Sunday. The owners would have to provide their own security guards and have them on the premises at all times. The building should be compliant with all fire codes pertinent to either residential or non-residential use, and compliance with all conditions set forth adhered to prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy, and any violations and conditions may deem the conditional use null and void, requiring the certificate of occupancy to be revoked. All violations found on April 5th by Fire Chief Nathan Kelly need to be corrected or by a licensed electrician and or contractor. Presented to the Planning Commission, they approved the renewal for 1 year, permitting operation subject to revised hours to what they have now. Friday 9 a.m. to 12 a.m., Monday through Friday, Saturday 9 a.m. to 1 a.m., and Sunday 12 noon to 12 a.m. All safety and fire codes listed on the Aransas Pass Fire Department report need to be completed in its entirety within 2 weeks of approval. The parking lot needs to be striped as per city code, and cleaning of the property to include mowing and removing of furniture on the lot was what the Planning Commission recommended. And that's the end of the presentation for the first public hearing.
So do we have any public comments? Sure, can y'all want to come up and just state your name and your address?
My name's Kevin Simon. I live in Corpus Christi at 719 Lantana, trailer 52. I am one of the owners of Dueling Pistols Bar along with my wife over here. And on this, we have corrected everything on here that they have asked for. Fire extinguishers have been corrected on Monday. The electrician was here today. He has corrected one of the things that needs to be corrected. He's coming tomorrow to finish the other two items. And as far as the trash that was outside, it has nothing to do with us, but we did, as good citizens of this place, we had one of our bartenders and her husband come and pick up all the chairs and stuff that were outside that had nothing to do with us. It was just from people dumping stuff at our trash can. It happens all the time. I can't monitor it 24/7. People come dump furniture, they come dump whatever they want to. But we picked it up, and it's all clear. The picture they had on there of the RV is not there. The owner of the building has had the people that owned it on the side remove it. Like I said, the apartments have nothing to do with us. The apartments there is actually 3 different addresses at that place. There is the bar, and then 2 addresses in the back. It has been this way, as far as the owner has told me, for I don't know how many years. But anyways, we have corrected everything on there. And when she was talking about the stairs leading up, there is actually no stairs. I can actually show you a picture if you'd like to see. It is the back side of the stairs. It is not, you can't walk up it. You can't go in from the bar to the apartments. There's absolutely no way to get in there. It is solid. I don't know if you'd like to see this picture or not, or if you can, and we also have parking lot stripes now. I've been doing that for the last couple of days. All the grass is mowed, the trees are picked up, everything that was needing to be done. So as of tomorrow, the electrician will be done, and we will be up to code on everything on this list.
What about the hours of operation?
Hours of operation are from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. Monday through Friday. Saturday is from 9 to 1. It has always been that way, even when we were located over on East Wheeler. I don't know how at the last meeting last year that it got changed from 3 o'clock. We have absolutely no clue. The lady's name was Kat that was in charge of it. We thought she had everything set and ready to go. We came to this meeting, y'all approved it real quick, and we walked out. We didn't know anything about that time, and we apologize for that. That's not, but these are the correct times now, from 9 a.m. to 12, and Saturday 9 to 1.
Chief, what kind of, do you have trouble at that location, or
I
can you
did-
tell us a little about it?
I did pull a report that was sent, I think, before you got here to Miguel. The only thing that really stands out as far as problem, of course, we've had a couple drunk drivers picked up around that area, but that's going to always happen. The other thing was the gambling situation that was going on in there. I don't know where that is today, but we would hope that we would not have a continuation of the gambling operation beyond today.
We've never been charged legally. I mean, we've gone to court, and they just keep resetting it because they keep saying Aransas ain't sent the paperwork over there to them. So I don't know about all that, but we have never been charged with your crime. I mean,
But it's not gambling, it's actually sweepstakes. Whatever, it doesn't matter either way. This company is actually out of Corpus Christi. They have 10 locations in Corpus Christi. They got them all over Texas. They have never been found guilty of it, but we are no longer running it, and nor am I going to run it. Learned our lesson. It would have been just a lot more kinder. Maybe the city to come in and say, we don't want them here. I would have took them out. I would have had no problem with that. But yet, instead they came in and raided us and took them out. We're not going to do them no more, so we're done. As far as that, we have never had any stabbings, gunfights. We've never had any problems. I've never had any DWIs on record. We are, I would say, the cleanest bar, the most place where you would want to come and bring your wife or your husband and come in there and drink. And I know maybe not none of you, maybe they have been in there, but there has been people that we know in the city that have come in there and liked the place and commented
and
that.
they still come in there today. And you know, and a lot of businesses, we do a lot of, fundraisers for veterans, we hold we go out to the public, we ask for donations. There are people in here that have donated to us. You know, I mean, we don't allow drugs on the property. In fact, he would have made the best call anybody would have ever had in their life.
You're out in my parking lot, and I see you doing something I don't like. I go out there until you get out of my parking lot, man.
I've been there for almost 3 years with them. I've seen, since we're rated, we have not seen any more cops in our bar. I've been with them for almost 3 years. I've never witnessed an altercation in there. We've never, any of that. We don't allow our people to get drugs. We don't allow drugs in the premises. He's very, very tight. In fact, when we first opened, he donated money to the police department. We both donated money to the fire department. We've donated to the schools. We do Toys for Tots. We get toys. We call the school. We donate. We do give a lot to the community, you know, for us to be a bar. You don't hear us calling the police, and they don't really have a problem with us. They don't come into our establishment, except I've been there 3 years, and I can count on one hand, how many times they've done a walkthrough through our bar. He's very, you know, he don't live here, but he still gives back to our community. And that's the way I make my living, and I don't want to lose that. We've even started a club. It's called, please not laugh, but we're called the Cackling Hens and the Rising Roosters. And we've formed a little group where we're hoping it'll get bigger, where we can do like fundraisers for maybe the police department or somebody's home that burns down.
Mostly kids.
Mostly kids is what we want to give back to. But we have anywhere from attorneys to nurses to, we have really good people that come into our bar. Please don't take that from us.
Can you tell us why you were late on applying for your?
When we applied to CAD, it was you're saying in February. We didn't get permitted and it didn't open until I believe April last year because we were held off to another meeting because they were same thing. I think there was discretion or something, and that's why we thought our CO at the bar says April, so that's why we didn't apply till last month for February.
Oh.
Because we did apply in February, what we looked at and we found out, but we didn't get approved till April, so we thought we didn't have to apply again till. That was the reason for that.
Do we have the wrong mailing address for you? Because it says the mailing dates were March 26th, returned to undeliverable.
What is mailing address? I'm not sure. So our fiscal address is Aransas.
For the notices that were mailed out to people who need to
Okay.
Okay. Can you show me your pictures of the cleanup?
Sure.
So we don't have any of those.
I don't have one of the side building where the trailer is now moved, but this is the parking lot stripes that I have done.
Okay.
Right there.
Mm-hmm.
Small parking lot stripes. This is electrical that the guy has fixed today. Same electrical fire extinguishers that were now permitted. That's a lot more. This is the actual under the stairs.
Oh.
You can't walk up it. You can't go behind it. There is actually brick on this side, and this side I believe there's brick too. There's no absolutely way to. I don't have a side of building. I wish I would have got it, but.
Okay.
I will assume that the fire chief will have to go out there and re-inspect to make sure all of this is done, and Burl or somebody go out and make sure it's all done.
Yeah, we haven't received any call.
Okay.
We have sent pictures of everything we have fixed.
Jason?
To Jason.
I haven't looked at those pictures, but we still gotta go out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were gonna call you after the electrician was done tomorrow. That was
Set up a time
lunch
to come out.
Yeah, you have to set that up. If it's all done, I still gotta go look at
Yeah,
it.
you know.
Make sure everything that's on that list is.
That's what was discussed last week at the meeting was, and we have 2 weeks, and they're gonna come out and recheck it again.
Just a question, was there a permit pulled for that electrical work?
I'm
sorry?
He He's a licensed electrician, as far as I know. He
But I
said
know that, yeah, I
he didn't know if
understand.
he said he didn't need a permit because he wasn't actually disconnecting electricity or nothing. I'm not sure. But he's a certified electrician. I mean,
I know, but there's a
have to have
procedures
a
as far
permit.
as.
okay, well, that's not. If he didn't pull it, then I mean, that's not. What's his name? He actually knows. Are you the city inspector? He actually talked to you that day. Did you go back out there? Today he was out there working on the breaker box. He said the other day he went out with somebody for the city that was inspector to go out and look at it. And I'm working on that, sir. His name is. His name is Aaron Durham.
Aaron Durham.
Durham.
He is a certified electrician.
Yes. Oh, I'm just going by what he told me.
Any more questions? Any more comments from the public? You want to come up?
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Popejoy. I was completely unaware of what Kevin and his wife are up here for. So this is strictly just in regards to the way they operate their business. Me and my wife do not go there all the time, but when we do go there, he is of the utmost watching his bar and the patrons in it. Okay, I don't know what happens. You know, the police officer right there made a comment that there was a couple arrests or whatever outside. That's normal. I'm just up here to let y'all know that he has very good intentions. He is a very good bar owner, let alone a business owner. I don't know if that helps or whatever, but I felt like I should say something in their behalf. I have noticed the stripes being put down there. I didn't know there was all these, but I do know that he has and would make the effort to resolve these issues. Even though there's some other things in the back, in the past, it might be a learning or whatever, I don't know. But I assure you, he has learned. I've talked to him personally, and I know how he feels about what has transpired in the last 6 months or whatever. And he would be good for y'all's community. You know, he's a good business owner, even though he lives in Corpus. He does do a lot for the community, and he's doing more as the time goes, okay? So I would just like y'all to know that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one more question, maybe for Nathan. Were these, obviously these violations had to have been in violation a year ago. Why were they not noted a year ago
Nathan, come up.
when they opened?
I don't have my iPad. I usually have all that information in there. I think.
And I guess I should say, and were they noted a year ago? And
Well, I need to look when it was the inspection first done. I know it shows here in April, but I think there was something done before that. I just don't have my
Okay.
iPad with me. Well, what they do is when they do an inspection, they send it to whatever email we have.
Mhm.
So I don't know if it was sent to him or whoever, or the email I have. So I don't know if he ever got anything in the past, or this is the first thing you ever gotten.
We got a report from you last year that was from Jason. He emailed it to us. We had to fix one extension cord and a fan that was fixed. We mailed him the pictures. He said everything was good.
expired?
It's just because I've been trying to get hold of Jeers, and he finally came out and did it, so.
Okay, well,
There was one thing on there about balloons. We were having a party the next day. They said they can't have the balloons. They have to remove them 24 hours to remove them. It's little things that were just not really.
okay. Well, it looks like you got sent something. So, yeah, like I said, when we do it, the email we get, we send the report that same day or the next day, and they get it, and they address it, so.
Okay.
If
Because
it's
it seems
really-
like there's quite a few violations now
Well,
that were
sometimes
not
what
there a year
happens
ago.
is, when we get there, there's not, that many, but throughout a year or a few months, things move around.
yeah.
They know we're coming, so they kind of fix everything up, and then we leave, we put things back.
And then when you
And
catch them
then,
up.
yeah, and I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but that's what happens,
Okay,
so.
thank you.
Just for reference, council, too, I've been inspected, the fire department twice since Chief Cox was here. He's the one that really got inspections going, because we never had that in place.
Correct.
I got dinged, I hate to say it, but the fire department dinged the police department. I think that's more of an inside thing they're trying to get at us. And then we got dinged again. We got dinged again the second time around. So there are always going to be things, as I think, as you progress and go on, that are going to pop up.
Okay.
For example, boxes too high to the ceiling, stuff like that. So it's always something that it doesn't surprise me to get dinged by the fire department.
Ding, ding, ding. Okay.
So you'll be out there again to do a final follow-up. He said the electrician is finishing, so he'll call Burl, and I assume you're gonna go out there and inspect, and the fire marshal will go out there and re-inspect and make sure that everything is.
They give us a call, we'll schedule it, I need to see what, how it falls in the schedule. As soon as they call us, we get out there and we'll inspect. Once everything passes, I'll let Burrow know, and then they'll get the CO, if not, then we won't get it.
And then they have to close, is that correct?
No, well, if there's an issue there, and I think it's very, serious issue, I'll let Burrow know. CO, they need to fix this, if he doesn't do it, until it's done. So, it looks like they're fixing everything, but I haven't been out there, so.
So with these things pending, should we table this, or what would these things? Oh, it's just, well, that's true. Okay.
We'll go to the next
Never
one and
mind.
do that.
Have
Never mind.
anything else to add?
No, ma'am, that's it.
Okay.
Any more public comments? Okay, well, I declare the public hearing closed.
Well, there's more. I'm done with this public hearing. There's 2 more to
Yeah,
go.
but we gotta go to consider and act
Now,
on this
yeah.
particular
Yes.
one.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so now we're gonna go to consider and act on ordinance 2019-4234, renewing conditional use permit to allow Samantha and Kevin Simon to operate a bar at 157 South Commercial Street, located at the northeast corner of East Yoakum Street and South Commercial Street. Legal description: Aransas Pass Townhouse, town size, block 548, lot 13, 14, 15, and 16. So now, what's the favor of the council?
I would like to make a motion for us to table the approval of the conditional use permit,
Till the
pending that
inspections.
all of the, everything has been inspected and it has passed. And we can have it done by the next city council meeting? Would that be possible?
That's all kind of based on, based on whether they got everything ready or not.
So at the last meeting, it was agreed that as long as we get this finished in 2 weeks, because I'm supposed to close. If I close down for a week, close down for a month, I'm done. There is no going back. I'm done. My family's depending on this for me to stay open.
So, they're
I
actually
have no
closed
problem. I
right now?
have gone and fixed everything on here. The electrician's finishing tomorrow.
But you're not closed now.
I'm not closed, but if you table it in the next month, I'm going to end up having to close.
It's not next month.
No.
When's the next meeting
Our next
scheduled?
meeting
Yeah,
is,
yeah, but
Oh, it is May.
us tabling it, I believe still keeps it going until we make a decision on what we're gonna do.
Then my CO is up on the
Yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong, tabling it gives him an extension on time, or does it cut off his time right there at that time to have to close?
As a city attorney, I'd recommend that if you approve it, that you approve it for only 1 week contingent upon inspection, and that it be brought at the next council meeting. So you can contingently approve it for 2 weeks
give him
or
the
until the
extension
next
of
city
2
council
weeks.
meeting.
Okay.
But it's
Would that
only
be ample
approved for
time
that
for you to
amount of
correct
time.
everything on there?
He can continue to operate.
Electrician's finishing tomorrow. I mean, I can literally call him out. I don't know when the next meeting to go inspect it, but as soon as he finishes, I can call him out and have him out there Friday inspecting it.
Okay, so,
Yeah, yes.
okay, well, let me amend the motion. I make a motion that we approve it for 2 weeks, giving him the opportunity to correct, get the city out there to inspect, and then we'll readdress it again at our next city council meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, I open public hearing on the renewal of the conditional use permit for Yasbani U. Abru for the placement of an RV while constructing a home at 902 North McCampbell Street, located at the northwest corner of West Myrtle Avenue and North McCampbell Street. Legal description, Aransas Pass, Town Site, Block 407, Lot 9.
Thank you. We can go to the second slide, please. That shows the property. At the moment, on Google Earth, it doesn't show what is there at the moment, but if we go to the next slide. The top portion is a current front picture of the lot on McCampbell Street, and the bottom picture is a Google slide of the side street on Myrtle. There is a privacy fence all the way around, and you could see in the background of the first picture there is an RV in the background, and it looks like a portable cover on the left-hand side. The next picture shows the engineering foundation plans that Mr. Abreu has submitted. He does have a house ready to move to that property. The house is not code-compliant. He is aware of that, and he is going to be adding square footage to the home and adding stucco or masonry to the streets facing of the home to comply to code. If you go to the next slide, it gives you a little bit more information on the zoning ordinance, which is section R7A, single-family dwellings. It does not allow for manufactured homes, but will allow RVs with a conditional use permit. Minimum floor space is 1,000 square feet. That's why they need to add, I believe, 250 more to the home that they're going to move there to comply, as well as the masonry required for single-family residences that they will be adding.
But this isn't a mobile home that they're
No,
living
ma'am.
there.
It is a stick-built home.
It is a what?
It's a stick-built
Oh,
wood.
stick-built home, okay.
But is this like an old home that they're having moved to this location?
It is a used home,
Okay.
but from what I hear, it's already been inspected in certain areas by the building department. That's why they advised them about the extra footage and the stucco that needs to be added to the home.
Whose building department arranges this pass?
Yes. I believe it was Tito that had gone out there to look at it. Mhm.
So this piece of property can have 2 residences on it?
No, what they're asking for is for the RV just to stay on there an extra 3 months while they put the home on there and finish up all the extras that they need to comply to code.
Yeah, I get that, but then after this new home is built, is the property,
They have to remove the RV, correct?
Yes, ma'am. They need to remove the RV.
I got it, but they're moving another home in on the same property as there is a home? Or is there
No,
not
there-
a home,
there
it's
is no
just the
home.
RV?
Yes,
They just
ma'am.
had a slab.
Oh, it looked like there was a house in the picture.
Where they showed the slab. The
Oh,
slab
okay.
would be on-
Alright.
They would have put the house on top.
Looked like there was a house already there. Okay, never mind.
The next slide just gives you some more information again on the conditional use permit and what it's needed for granting and for renewal. There are some issues, though. Their conditional use permit was included due to some conditions on the last conditional use permit. They were needing to comply to the ones that they had on there, and they didn't. One would be that the renewal would have to be applied for again, no less than 45 days, and they only did it within 21 days. And that the other was that they were supposed to submit the building plans on that new home within 3 months of the conditional use permit that was last submitted, and they did not.
And so how long has the mobile home been, or the travel trailer, how long has it been sitting there?
Almost
A
a
year.
year.
Oh.
And now they want to start the house.
Yes.
And it was originally only supposed to have been there 3 months?
Mm-hmm. Now, they did mention that they have had some hardships. The gentleman is from Cuba, and his mom did pass away. He had to move back to Cuba for a few months to make sure and do the funeral and everything. And then he did have a burn accident. He showed us pictures because he works in the pipeline industry, and he was out of work for a few months after that. I don't see them here, but they had mentioned that they were going to try and make it. He is only a Spanish speaker, and that's one of the things that he said. Those two items are reason why he wasn't able to comply to the timeline at the last conditional use permit.
I just have a question. I know that this is the second time that we've come across where they have not applied within time. Do we send them a reminder, or is it up to them themselves to keep track, or what happens? What's the
It is up
procedure
to
there?
them to comply with the timeline.
Okay, so they don't get any reminder from the city, your time is coming up for your conditional use
Correct.
permit?
Mhm.
Is that something that possibly we can look at? Because I know, going through the circumstances that he did,
Mhm.
that it might be, you can easily overlooked. Is some way that we can set up a process to send him a reminder, say maybe 3 months before it comes due, something, just to give him a heads up, it's up, just giving you a friendly reminder
Right.
for them to apply. I think that would be fair on our part of the city, just as a reminder. We don't want to be seen as we're going to kick them out or whatever,
Right.
just suspend or cancel because they did not meet the deadline. I think that
Mhm.
would be something good for us to implement.
Yes, definitely. Now, if we go to the last slide, the Planning Commission recommendation did approve the conditional use permit for 3 months with no conditions.
And the gentleman said it would take him about 3 months to finish
Or even
this.
less.
Or less,
Mhm.
okay.
Do we have the plans of what they're going to do? Have they submitted that?
They submitted the foundation plans last week, and I believe I saw them this morning submitting the plans for the house or the permit to move the home.
Any public comments? Any more questions? Okay, so I declare the public hearing closed, and we'll go to consider and act on ordinance 2019-4235, renewing conditional use permit for Yasvani U. Abreu for the placement of an RV while constructing a house at 902 North McCampbell Street, located at the northwest corner of West Myrtle Avenue and North McCampbell Street. Legal description, Aransas Pass Town Site, Block 407, Lot 9. Favor of the council?
I make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit for the 3 months. Is that what it was?
Yes, ma'am.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, I go to open public hearing on granting a conditional use permit to allow Amy G. Stevens to operate a tattoo shop at 346 South Commercial Street, Suite 9, located along the west side of South Commercial Street and north of West Goodnight Avenue. Legal description of Aransas Pass Town Site, Block 512, Lot 21 and 22.
Well, the area it's located in is off South Commercial, as you mentioned. It's in the Dolphin Alley Shopping Center. It's towards the back when you go down the hallway. And that
Are
one
we still
is
on? Which one are you on now?
Stevens?
It's
Okay, 6-5.
six.
There we go.
Six.
There we go.
6-5?
Yeah, the hearing.
Oh,
So we
yeah,
can scroll
6-5.
down to the pictures. That's the Dolphin Alley. That's the aerial view. We can scroll down one more. Next.
Right there.
That's the hallway that it's in, and it's towards the back. If we can go to the next one. Ms. Stevens is hoping to open a brow studio here. By license, she has to be a licensed tattoo to be able to do this. And that is approved in this area, which is the central area zoning. And so she is hoping to be able to be approved to do the permanent makeup microblading in this studio.
What are gonna be her hours of operation? Do you know?
No, she has not mentioned.
But it's not gonna be like a late night tattoo place.
No, she did mention at the last meeting that she will not stray from doing permanent makeup, that she doesn't
Okay.
plan on doing any
Oh.
regular tattoo work.
Yeah.
Lips.
I know her mother's in the audience. Is it time for her to speak or not?
Yes, she can.
Okay. Oh, and her sister's here too. Okay. How in the world did you slip in without me seeing you?
It will be an appointment only during, normal. She's got kids. She's got a normal time babysitter. So it'll be appointment only during normal business hours, no late. She's not going to be tattooing any butterflies on any hips or anything like that. So yeah. And it's a semi-permanent tattoo. They only last 9 to 12 months. And it's just like, I'm sure.
It's a makeup tattoo.
Yes, and it's only eyebrows. Okay. Any other questions?
Yep, I understand it now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Staff recommended approval with some conditions that the state tattoo artist license must be valid through the time limit of the conditional use permit, and that she must comply with the Texas minimal license standards established to protect the health and safety of the clients. On the last slide, it shows the Planning Commission recommendation to approve with those same conditions.
Okay. Any more questions? What's your favorite? Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. I closed the public hearing, and we go to consider an act on orders number 2019-4236 to allow Amy G. Stevenson's to operate a tattoo shop at 346 South Commercial Street, Suite 9, located along the west side of South Commercial Street and north of West Goodnight Avenue. Legal description, Aransas Pass Town Site, Block 512, Lot 21 and 22. Okay, now what's your favorite, council?
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 2019-4236 to allow Amy G. Stevens to operate a tattoo shop at 346 South Commercial Street, Suite 9, located along the west side of South Commercial Street and north of West Goodnight Avenue.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're gonna go to Gary.
Okay. Yeah. On those, were that approved with no conditions?
Well, it was the conditions that you stated, correct?
Yes. Mhm.
Should we amend it to,
Yes, please.
okay, that wasn't in the, okay, I amend the, ordinance to include the legal state of Texas license for tattoo and health department.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
No.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, now we go to Gary.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is one of those items that we received. We have very little power over, but it's something you do need to act on. The CenterPoint Gas Company filed with the City of Aransas Pass and other cities in this area for a interim rate hike. The current filing will increase rates for residential customers by $2.04. Again, we have no authority to deny this. We can delay it for 45 days, but it still will be implemented. But it still requires your action on this.
So, what's your favorite?
Well, we have to do it. There's no, I don't want to do it because that means our gas bill
Delay
is
it
going to go
45
up.
days, just do it.
Especially in the business.
Well, we're gonna delay it for 45 days, right? It's gonna go up anyway.
It's going to go up anyway, exactly.
You do it.
I hate to do this.
Okay.
To delay it?
Here we go.
Does it matter if we delay it for the 45 days?
You probably don't
Gary?
have gas.
It
at
makes
your
no,
house.
It makes
it
no
makes no
difference.
difference. It's going to happen regardless,
Yeah.
so.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2019-885, suspending the May 27th, 2019 effective date of the proposal of CenterPoint Energy Resources Corp., DBA CenterPoint Energy, and Texas CenterPort Energy, Texas Gas, South Texas Division implement intern GRIP rate adjustments for gas utility investments in 2018, and requiring delivery of this resolution for the company and legal counsel. The rate will go from $19 to $21.04 per month, with an increase of an average of $2.04 per residential customer per month.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this next item is a tax resale item, and Michael Schultz is purchasing the item. Michael, are you around by any chance?
Yes.
If you want to come forward, is that you back there, Michael? Yeah, if you want to come forward, if the council has any questions. But I'm going to jump ahead just a little. The next item, we're going to ask that we delay that. We're not asking a delay on this particular item. It was a purchase on the courthouse steps, basically. Is that correct?
Yes.
And, but you have to approve it also. So, and I talked with Michael on what he wants to do with his property, and you indicated you're going to build on it, or what was that?
That's the two lots.
Okay, okay.
The home is in bad repair. Sorry about that.
Okay.
It needs a lot of work, probably, I've walked it with city officials, and there's probably, with the pool and all the damage, probably well over $100,000 in damage to the house. It's gonna have to be repaired. So, the goal is to rebuild it and get it up to use, because right now it's been on the tax rolls 20-plus years with no taxes being paid on it. So, it's been a vacant property. It's been abandoned, there's people going in it. I just want to fix it up and use it.
And that was the staff's point also. There's an attempt to repair the property and bring it back on the rolls. So that's for your consideration, this particular transaction.
There's two lots. One is part of the property, the other one is just a 25-foot lot that's no use to anybody. Nobody can build on, nobody can do anything. If it's approved, I want to replat both of them together, so we'll at least get tax money off both of them instead of just one.
Do you know what the property is worth?
I've spoken to a couple real estate people, and they're probably, if it is actually fixed up, it's probably 2.25 or so, give or take.
Or more, I would say. I would say more.
Might be more than that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, could be, yeah.
It's not worth much now, though.
I
Right.
have a question. I have a question for our attorney. On the cost involved for the processing, who's responsible for that? All the the fees? I know there's fees are going to be involved in this. Is that going to be the city's responsibility? Isn't there fees involved in this? I'm just trying to.
The tax sale, the sheriff's sale, is what he purchased it for, which was $45,000.
Correct.
It needs to be approved by all the taxing entities. And at renewal, you'll get a percentage of.
No, I understand of the taxes, but is there any fees that the city will have to pay for the transaction, paperwork?
I don't believe that there is, no.
Generally speaking, no.
I just want to make sure, because in the past, there's been fees that we sell it for $5, and the city ends up paying like $2,000 to get the transaction, and that's just my concern. You know, I know we're selling it, you know, it's right now the way it is, we're going to get on the tax roll, but we're already going to take a hit on it. I just want to make sure that the city is not responsible for paying any of the filings and things like that,
Right.
paperwork. That's just my concern. I have no problem with as far as the purchase, just don't want any fees.
Right.
The amount of taxes owed on that particular property for the amount of $253,000
Right.
That's a significant amount of loss to the city.
I understand. I don't want more loss, that's what I'm saying.
We don't make money. We approve it.
Because I'm looking here at the cost of the sale, that's what I'm looking at.
I think that's already done.
That's what I would have said.
I just want to make sure that there's no other fees that the city has to pay, that's just my concern.
I think it's a valid question. I'd have to follow up with you on that.
Okay. Would you be willing to pay if there's any fees?
I'm willing to discuss it.
Well,
Good
let's see
answer.
now on this one, huh?
Good answer.
I mean, the ultimate goal for everybody
Right,
here is
sure.
to get it back on the tax rolls. It's gonna take me probably 9 months or to a year
Right.
to get it where it needs to be. So the quicker we can make a decision, and I'm willing to work with the city on it.
Everybody?
I'll have to check with the tax law firm that handles these cases. The city attorney does not handle it. This is Linebarger.
Okay.
So I'll have to ask him why that cost is in there.
That's just like,
How much is
That's
it?
a good question.
1,600.
If it is a fee, I'll pay it.
$64.70.
What? Where do you see
Did you get that in
On this
recorded?
page right here.
Huh?
Cost of
You
the
say
sale,
record that?
$1664.70.
I will, if
I know.
there is a fee associated with it, I'll pay it.
I know you
Doc
will.
stamps.
Thank you for that.
Okay, we good?
Thank you.
Favor of the council?
I make a motion that we approve the sale of, oh gosh.
Accept the offer, Mike?
Accept the offer, or in the amount of $45,000 for the property located at 1059 South McCampbell.
I second.
Is there a contingency that he pays for the property service? If there is, we may add that to your motion.
We need to add that he pays the fees.
And that you pay the fees.
If there's.
If there's any fees, you pay the fees.
I'll sign it before I leave.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor and Council, we're asking that 7.3, as I said earlier, be tabled for now, and we want to bring it up at a later time. Next item is consider an act on an ordinance amending the city code that would allow bicycles on sidewalks. And the reason for this is we've applied for, on Friday, we applied for a grant for Safe Routes to School, extending a sidewalk from Hogan Homes, a new development, to the school system. By the way, the school system is helping us with the application fee associated with this. They're partners with us on this. We were able to take it down, begin the process of taking it down DeBerry, actually, a short distance. And in future grants, we can take it even further. That's a road that would be feeding into the school system also and adds connectivity to the trails we have and sidewalks we have around town. The ongoing effort to add to the sidewalks that are throughout the city. For a better chance of getting that grant, the state is asking that we allow bicycles on sidewalks, and hence you have this before you if you agree to act on that item.
Do you have any concerns? Eric?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I would think that's really good for the school area. Kids riding their bikes and kids walking, I'd rather have them on the sidewalk than I would in the road.
This is a 6-foot sidewalk also. It's larger than what is normally the case. Forgot to mention that.
Well, I'll make a motion that we, an ordinance to amend the city code to allow, and add in the section of riding bicycles on sidewalks.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we're gonna go to community enrichment. Sarah?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. How are you this evening? I do not have any action items in front of you. I'm just going to give you a second quarter update. Have it all typed up within the departments, and I'll just go through it real fast. But if there's something you want me to go into detail about, just let me know, and I can do that for you. You've kind of probably heard this the past couple months, so a lot hasn't really changed. But the library, we are offering GED or high school equivalency classes that will definitely begin May 1st, so that's good news. We have not had those for the past year, so that's a good thing that we brought those back. Coastline shutters and gutters were installed, storm shutters on all the library windows, and also roll down door shutters on the front door. That's already happened. The shutters were completely funded through a Texas Rebuild grant that we got in 2017, 2018. We continue to work on our community involvement through special library programs. We just hosted our National Library Week last week. On the 10th, we had like 46 people there. The theme this year was Libraries Equal Strong Communities. We are in the process of getting ready for our summer reading programs. In June, we ordered all the free materials available through the state of Texas. We also purchased children's books that support this year's theme, A Universe of Stories. Moving on to the Civic Center. Contracted repair work is 100% complete. That's the contracted repair work. We are still working on loose ends and some change orders. There are also still Harvey repairs that need to happen outside of the contract that are still in the works. We have and continue to hold events during this process. We just finalized rate increases in February. We are looking to hire a temporary person at the Civic Center in the month of May, so this month coming up. Moving on to Aquatics. The contracted work for that is 100% complete. We have not done the walkthrough with the engineers and the contractors. That'll happen Wednesday. We have something scheduled with them on Wednesday. There are still some repairs, some change orders that we're working on. A few, they're kind of trickling in. They're all captured on the DDD, but we are opening for weekends starting May 16th, and then we have 19 school field trips booked so far, and we'll probably book about 40 before we open up all the way. We have started the onboarding process for all of our seasonal guards. We trained 7 this weekend. We have 19 returning guards, and we'll have 3 different opportunities for that. So that was a successful thing that happened over this past weekend, training our guards. Senior Center, not much has changed with the status of this project. Some work has done to the damage that was more time sensitive, and this project is on hold until other FEMA projects start to fund and close out. So we don't have quite as many projects. So do you have any questions about any of that? I know it's a lot of information. There's no action item needed. It's just an update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're gonna go to development services.
I believe I'm going to take that, Mr. Mayor. Is Mickey here by any chance? I don't think I saw him. I'm going to go ahead and take this. In the case of This particular item, consider an act on awarding a request for bids for the King Lift Station. Bids were received, lowest bid was accepted, or is being recommended, and that's the proposal to the council to go with the low bid as determined by the staff. And also, staff has researched the company, and they are comfortable with the company that's being recommended to you. And I hope you don't ask me questions.
Yeah, well, the one question would be, what's the extra 7,500 for?
Fencing.
Did
It says an alternate.
For fencing.
Yeah.
Fencing.
Oh, okay, okay.
Let's see if we go that route, okay.
Fencing? That's a huge difference in,
And prices.
Yeah.
And it's 7,500, yeah.
well, in the bid itself.
That's,
Yeah, that is.
Oh, no. So the southern trenchless obviously can,
that's a big difference in price.
It is.
In the bids.
It is.
King Lift Station. I have no idea where they're from.
I'm sorry.
Southern trenchless?
Southern trenchless.
Southern trenchless solution.
But
So their bid covered every
Yes.
thing that was asked of them, correct?
I think that Fernando, I'm sorry, Fernando spoke to me after he researched. They had the bid opening, he went by my office several days later. They talked to them and did the research. They do specialize in this kind of work, and they would be able to do the work as bidded and the cost, and this is what they do all the time.
And no change orders, right?
That's what he said.
That's-
That's what he, I'm going by the conversation.
So-
There was a very significant price difference.
Exactly.
Yes, and so
I
he
wanna
did
make
do
sure.
his due diligence.
Okay.
And he assured me that they would, do the work.
Okay, now, the type of material, was there a certain specification
That
of
would be a
material that
Fernando
they had to
question.
use?
Yeah, I wouldn't get into that.
I didn't want to go like real thin plastic to, I don't know, just, because
I'm
there's a
sure that
big difference.
everything was.
It has to meet
stated in
certain
the RFP.
specifications.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
'cause they have a scope of job and all the specifications ought to be the same.
That's a big difference.
Mhm. Look at the next one. Look at the next one.
TJ Fox, 90,000.
All right, well,
I make a motion that we award the bid for a King Lift Station Repairs 2019 to Southern Trenchless Solutions, not to exceed 26,000.
No, not, are we
No.
including, no, not to exceed the 33.5.
33.5.
I was just looking at this over here. Okay.
With no change orders.
With no change orders.
We got that alternate bid for the fencing in there?
yes.
What's it? Okay.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Uh-oh.
Go look at
This next one, also FEMA project, 90%. And once again, staff has compared the bids, received 6 bids, and going with the low bid, they have researched it and feel comfortable with the company that's being recommended. So pretty much the same thing as before.
And this one's $98,000, the difference between the lowest one and the next one. The highest one is $326,000. It's
362.
$360,000. Like 3 times as much.
Why the difference?
FEMA work.
There you go.
Mhm.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's like a patient showing up with an insurance card. Ching-ching.
Mr. Faber?
I make a motion that we hire Litico Electric Incorporated for the softball field lighting for 2019. The total bid of, base bid of $117,557.84. And this will be 90% FEMA, and there will be no change orders to this.
How you doing?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Gary, would you know when the projected time for starting?
I don't know, unless you've heard Sandra. Starting times?
For the which one?
The softball,
The softball, I don't know, but I know that they were gonna start as soon as.
They have it on a fast track, but I don't have a date.
Can you let us know? Just send us an email just in case we get
Absolutely.
questions.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, Burl.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a quick rundown of the building department's monthly report. We're actually growing a little bit every month. We're at $3.5 million this month. And, we're almost $1 million above this month last year, right after the storm. So we've got quite a bit going on right now. We're right now it's kind of even. It's about $1 million in commercial, about $1 million in residential, and then the rest of it falls under the subcontractors, electrical, and what have you. But we're growing. It's not fast enough, but we are. Anybody have any questions? We did 120 permits this month. Okay. Thank you.
We also have 37 demolitions. Properties that have been substandard, dilapidated, and a hazard to the public health and safety have been demolished. We intended to give you a PowerPoint presentation tonight and discuss the demolitions. We will bring that at the next city council meeting for you. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go to Ms. Hendra Garcia.
Good evening. The first item for me tonight is going to be a budget amendment. You all may not be familiar. We've never done one in the past that I know of. So we're trying to do things the proper way. So basically what I'm presenting to you tonight is items that have already come before you. Grants that we have already received, like for example, Bacon Fest. The fire department received a grant from Coke. Grants for the NIBRS grant that you all already approved. We've already approved those revenues, but they weren't budgeted. We didn't anticipate that we were going to be getting this inflow of money, and we didn't budget the expenditures that correlate with the revenues. So there's a spreadsheet. If you can go next page, Gary, to my spreadsheet.
One second.
Okay, go down to Exhibit A. On Exhibit A, you're going to notice basically that there is an inflow of revenues coming in of $387,780 with 24 cents in the general fund, and then there's an outflow of revenues that correlate to those, an outflow of expenditures that correlate to those revenues for that. And then on for Section 2, which would be the projects and grants fund, you'll see that we have $1.5 million coming in, the majority of that being obviously FEMA money, and we are having the expenditures that are just going out the door that we didn't budget. That's just to bring the budget, our budget, to reflect what's actually going on, so that you know the actual revenues of these unbudgeted items that have come in and the expenditures associated with those. So we're just looking to amend these specific line items within the budgets, which are the revenues and the expenditures that correlate with that. Any questions?
Do we have the expenditures on this?
Yes, the expenditure would be the same thing, like an Exhibit A. The top part is the expenditure. It'll show you city council reserve. That's $19,000 that the Coastal Bend Foundation gave the city that was earmarked to go to the Chamber of Commerce. So we received the money and we paid Chamber. So you'll see that there's an increase of expenditures of $19,000 that wasn't budgeted, but there's an increase of revenues of $19,000 that wasn't budgeted. So it's just an in and out. Then we have community events. We received $400 for trunk or treat. So we received that donation and we spend that donation. Capital outlay for the IT department, they received a refund from some invoices dating back from 2015. The police department received money for a training that they for a grant that they're doing for training, and that's going into their training budget. Then the 79,000 is the grant for the NIBRS grant for the police department. That's just the top part where that money is gonna be spent at. Then the bottom part is where the money is going to reflect in the revenue side of things, and it just balances out. And the same thing goes for the section 2, which is just the grants and the bond project fund. They're just two different funds that are being affected by this budget amendment tonight.
Then I make a motion that we approve the budget amendment as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. My second item is a contract that I bring before your approval for the single audit. We're doing a single audit for the fiscal year 2018. We've received a lot of FEMA money during the year of 2018. We've received other grants, and we're needing to do a single audit. Our single audit was not part of the Encompass contract that we have with Brenda, with Ms. McAwee. And so we've already done our regular audit. She's audited our book. She presented her audit findings last meeting. And now she's going to narrow down her audit. The single audit is just narrowing down focus on this particular funds, on the money that came from FEMA, to make sure that we receive the money and we spend it on FEMA projects, on money that came from any other grant, that the money was received and spent specifically as the grants dictate. So for that, for her services, she's going to charge us $12,000 for the single audit. And that is what, it is before. We are required to have a single audit because we have received we have spent in excess of $750,000 of federal awards. So we are required to have the audit done. So unfortunately, it wasn't part of our contract with her. And to expedite the process, we are recommending to go with her at the amount of the $12,000.
And this will come out of the general fund?
Yes, and this is an unbudgeted amount.
Yeah.
FYI.
What is the time frame for her to deliver that audit?
It is my understanding that she's going to start the audit in June and have it to us by July. It'll be 30 to 60 days after she begins.
Is there any kind of
Ideally,
deadline that we have to meet with, like we did with our audit?
Ideally, we would have liked to have had it with the audit, but we didn't, it was an unanticipated, I guess she didn't realize that we were going to need the single audit and therefore didn't put it in the calendar for her work here for us, and it wasn't part of the contract. Ideally, we would like to have them both at the same time.
Does that
is what I'm
affect
saying.
as far as the standing, the rating of the city at all?
No, it should not, no. The meat and potatoes of it is the audit.
That was already, okay.
Yes,
Just wanna
we've
make sure
already
on that.
turned in, and we've already sent to all entities that are requiring us to submit an audit.
Okay, just wanted to make sure on that.
Yes.
Well, I make a motion that we approve the contract with Brenda McAwee, CPA, for the amount of $12,000 for a single audit for the fiscal year ending September 2018, and this is for grants and FEMA funds, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
With no change orders.
All right, so I have two more items. My next item is my financial report. Basically, can we go to my attachment?
Yes, eventually here.
There you go. Okay, towards the very bottom. I'm just gonna give you a quick, okay, there we go, overall. We have budgeted revenues of $1,066,000. Our actual revenues that we got for the month, overall, the month was $1,056,000. So we were not at where we were at budgeted. We're about $10,000 off our budgeted. But our expenditures, we had budgeted overall expenditures of $1.2 million, but our expenditures came in at $1.1 million. So our overall, even though we didn't meet our budgeted revenue goals, our expenditures, keeping them low is what's keeping us in good standing. If we're gonna see the graph that's next, the next graph. No, you were right. There you go, okay, that one. You'll see the one that's filled in green, that's our budgeted. And then the line with the red dot, that's where it hit within the budgeted revenue. The general fund, as you can see, is the only fund that exceeded its budgeted revenue. Everything else came below what was budgeted. And the same thing goes with the expenditures. Do you wanna go to the next one? The yellow, the green is what was budgeted. The red dot with the blue line is where the expenditures fell. Unfortunately, the general fund exceeded its budgeted expenditures for the month, but the other funds did not. So that's what's really helping us overall. Now, our next slide is property tax collections. I want to say that we've collected more money year to date than in prior years, but this isn't because we're expecting to collect that much more money. It's just that our rate of collections has been a lot greater. If you remember, we did have a tax increase, but that was only going to generate about $100,000 more in property tax. It just means this slide just represents that our taxpayers are being more diligent in paying their property taxes faster than in prior years. And there were, at some point, all these three bars are probably going to meet up closer towards the end of the fiscal year. Our next slide is our sales tax. Now, this one, we are saying that 2018 is the outlier year. That was after the storm. We can't really compare ourselves to that, but we do compare ourselves to 2017. And there is an increase of $39,665 as compared 1 month in 2019 and the same month in 2017. And the following slide is just our collections year to date for all three, for the whole 2 pennies. Remember, we collect, MDD collects, Crime Board collects, and the city collects. So all those 2 pennies combined, those are all the lists. So we've collected $1 million. MDD's collected $468,000, and Crime Board has collected $469,000 year to date as of March 31st. Any questions? Okay, my last one, I promise. I've been up here a long time. Okay, this is my investment report, quarterly investment report. 11% of our money was at Prosperity Bank, 45% of our money was at tax pool, and 44% was at Texas Class. We had an average of $8 million available for investment. We earned altogether $47,395 for the quarter. Our rate of return on investment was 2.36%. Our benchmark, which is what we're trying to be at, is a 3-month yield T-bill, which is that return on investment was 2.44. We haven't met it. We haven't met the return, our benchmark, in a while. We do understand that we need to be very liquid at this time. We need to build up our reserves, our fund balance, to be able to do a little bit more strategic investment with our money. But right now we are pretty liquid. Even though we invest in Texas Class, that's a very liquid commodity as well. So, do you all have any questions?
So what keeps us from reaching that 2.44?
What keeps us from reaching it is the type of instrument that we're investing in. Right now, we have to be liquid. As we're building our fund balance, we're going to build our reserve. We get to invest in different types where we can tie up our money for 3, 6 months, a year at a time. Okay. Right now, we can't afford to do that. Okay. So that's what's holding us back. But we're going to get there. Okay. I really believe that. Anything else? Okay, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to go to information technology, and we're going to go to Mr. Eric Blanchard.
Police Department. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Public Safety, Police
Public,
Department.
there you go. So we got our monthly report here. It's on the screen. It will publish online if it hasn't already today. But just quickly move through it. We had an on-water rescue where 2 subjects were stranded off kayaks. They deployed the boat, and they were able to successfully bring them in. One guy, I think, had to be treated by EMS for hypothermia or something. We had a major event, the standoff 1500 West Young, suicide by cop, that taxed our resources, but it did end successfully. Spring break operations concluded with 424 traffic stops, 204 tickets, and 21 arrests just for spring break related matters. No other major events, no other major serious violence or anything like that for spring break, so it was pretty good. 384 hours of training was provided last month. We also underwent a state training audit for our training license for the police department. We passed with flying colors. Emergency management, we're still working with the school on some matters related to emergency management, and recovered a lot of stolen goods last month, some off of Craigslist. Believe it or not, they're still taken to Craigslist. Department feedback report is on there. We continue to do monthly audits on how we're doing with people randomly. We received all 10s, and the state audit report and everything, all this information is there and will be published online so that people can pick it apart. And if they have any questions, available. Thank you, folks.
Was our spring break more active than the year before, or just about the same?
I think it was more active than last year, yes, I believe so, but no major violence or major events, so it was a good event for us.
Okay, now you ready, Nate?
Mayor, Council, got the FD stats here. We ran 62 calls last month. When you look at the graph, most of that was medical last month, so it's spring break. You know, below that, we about 9 fires. Nothing too big there. 62 calls. The next page, it kind of gives you a breakdown of, you know, of the types of calls we had. Nothing, you know, again, nothing too big standing out on, nothing major. The next page, it's training. 57 hours we had of training, and if you look at the codes, you can see exactly what kind of training we were doing. We hit it pretty hard on pump operations last month. We did 33 hours of that, so that was quite a bit. The next page is the inspections. We did 29 inspections last month. Still, you know, trying to get every building in town. It's, you know, sometimes a little difficult, but it's getting a little better. So, you got any questions or that? That's about it.
Make a suggestion. You quit harassing the police department. You can get out there and do some more buildings.
Well, we're getting compliance, man.
That helps.
Now we're going to go to City Council or staff announcements, and we have come up with the Census Complete Count Committee, and we have 3 of them, and Jeff Martin is one of them, Sandro Garcia is another one, and Henry Morales is the other one.
That's correct.
And Henrietta.
And there is the first meeting, training session for that committee is this week, I believe. The training will be conducted by a census official here at City Hall. So want to make you aware of that also. So they are beginning to move forward. A couple of other items related to staff announcements, Mr. Mayor. The city, before I get to the cleanup, on April 22nd, a week from tonight, there is a work session for the council. Nothing to vote on, at least as of this moment. It's just presenting several different topics for discussion for the council. But tomorrow, or a week from tonight, there'll be a work session.
5:30?
5:30, yes. The last item is Citywide Cleanup, April 27th. This is going to be a major event. Is Corey here?
He was. Oh, he is.
Oh, poor Corey.
The trash.
I could talk about it, but Corey is much more versed in this than I. He lives working on this cleanup on April 27th, and so.
He mostly talks trash.
So Corey, you want to update the council on where that is and all that we're going to be doing, at least an overview?
Okay, good evening. So where we're at, we just have a few more things to work out. Absolute Waste, Public Works, school district has a few volunteers that's going to come out and help us with this cleanup. We need a lot more volunteers to come out and help as well. We have sections in the city that we have marked out on the map. I've got educational material that I will make copies of that we will post on the structures about the proper placing of the debris. Absolute Waste is going to give us, I believe, 5 dumpsters to help. We're going to have 2 to 3 dumpsters set up at the LWR property for citizens to access, to help clean up their areas as well. And I believe the transfer station, we are waiving the fee on that.
That is correct.
The citizens just need to provide residency. So it's going to be a free dump day for people to haul stuff out to the dump as well. I am going to get with the news channels. I do have a meeting with one of the news channels tomorrow. They're going to ride with me. I'm getting flyers put up all over town, requesting volunteers to come out and help. We're going to need everybody to help. I hope to see you guys out there as well. We got plenty of gloves and shovels and pickaxes and all, whatever we need.
Whatever is needed.
Are you going to be able to use like a backhoe or something for some
Public
of the
Works,
bigger?
they have 2 backhoes they're going to have out. City staff will be operating those with city trucks and trailers. I believe there's going to be a track host set up at the LWR site to help unload bulky items with the residents. So there's a lot of planning that we put into this. Absolute Waste will have brush trucks going out, picking up brush on vacant lots. Our volunteers are going to be attacking the vacant lots as well with construction and furniture items that's been illegally dumped or placed by whoever. So we got a lot of work. That's what I keep stressing. I can't stress enough. We need a lot of help to show up on this day on the 27th of April from 8 to 12. If you guys want to sign up and help, contact the city manager's office, and we'll be more than happy to see you guys out there as well.
And we're going to meet here at City Hall?
We're going to meet here in the City Hall parking lot.
Okay.
With the tacos and lunch,
And the
right?
mayor's buying tacos.
Tacos and lunch.
Both? Buying tacos and lunch?
No, I'll buy the tacos, but I ain't buying lunch.
Darn it. I need to go to your restaurant and buy their own lunch.
So that's basically what I have. Like I said, there's a few more things I need to work out and get set up, but we are moving in the right direction, and hopefully this is going to be very educational for our residents as well about.
I guess advertising, what promotion are we doing on this to notify the
Like I said,
residents?
I sent flyers out. I notified our paper here, The Progress. I spoke with the publisher. He's going to try and get it out as well as quickly as he can. I've contacted Channel 3 and 10. Roland is going to come meet with me tomorrow and go around some of the businesses that I'm putting flyers up at and trying to get the information out there and drive around town.
All right, thanks, Corey.
Good job,
Thank
Corey.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
Okay, now we're gonna go to citizen comments. Citizen comments are intended for the matter that are not scheduled on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name and address for the record. Be advised that the Texas Open Meeting Act prohibits the city council from responding and discussing your comments. The law authorizes the following: make a statement of factual information, recite existing policies, advise that this subject may be placed on the agenda for a subsequent meeting.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Howard Gillespie, San Patricio County Commissioner, Precinct 4, 801 North Sandpiper, east side of the Bay, Texas, where I live. Also, I'm speaking tonight as a member of the Board of Directors, Coastal Bend Disaster Recovery Group, and as the chairman of the Disaster Case Management Committee. I gave you all a little Coalition Unmet Needs Roundtable total funded projects. You can see them by county. There's a little code down at the bottom right. Number funded, number completed across the counties. Total of repairs, 212 were funded, 126 are completed. Total replacements of residences, 63 funded, 43 completed. Total rebuilds, 42 funded, 18 completed. Total of 330 items, areas or residents has been funded, and 207 completed for $8,149,723 of funds obligated. Now, this is the overall Coastal Bend Long-Term Recovery Coalition contribution to recovery. As a reminder, this does not include the separate work being done by Samaritan's Purse, Hands of Hope, Recovering Together San Antonio, or any other groups who work outside our coalition's Unmet Needs Roundtable process. And the keynote is that the coalition broke another milestone by obligating over $8 million in private donations for recovery, construction assistance to low-income, vulnerable families in the Coastal Bend. And so the first and third Mondays of the week, we meet at the Methodist Church, United Methodist Church in Sinton, to review the disaster case management documents before they go on to the unmet needs table on the first and third Wednesdays of the month, every month. So I just want to share that with you. So, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Now,
Let's get in order, Jack. Let's get in order.
Give me your name and address, so who you are.
Jack Cheney, Aransas County Commissioner, Precinct 1 and 1A. Since the annexation is in executive session and there's a possibility of coming out and discussing it after it, is this apropos to talk about it now? I honestly don't know.
can't say not.
The way it's posted on the agenda, the citizen comments is agenda for matters that are not scheduled on the agenda.
I understand that. But the only question was that if you come out of executive session and talk about it, then I can't do it. But I guess it's not the right time.
It can be the right time. It's up to the discretion of the chair, who is the mayor. So if the mayor wants to hear public comments, and he's limited those public comments to 3 minutes, then we should speak. We should speak.
Okay.
And the mayor can allow additional speaking when we come out of executive session. But for now, this is the public comment section, and you may speak.
I just want to be apropos. Okay. I was here whenever we got the dreaded news that the City Council of Corpus Christi had gone into executive session at 10 o'clock in the evening, or something that prompted a whole bunch of stuff. And the decision y'all made at the time to go forward and see what happens with this, I think was certainly, it was a timely decision that had to be made. However, with the comments that have come out of the planning department for the city of Corpus Christi, where they said they are not interested in coming this way, that may have relieved us from the necessity of urgency to come up with an annexation plan within the next few days or even few months. And I would urge the council to go ahead and look at their long-term plan to see where they're going and what they're doing. But I would request that you not move on this annexation at this particular time, because the course was set due to something that ended up not happening. Not your fault, but the city of Corpus Christi, in my opinion, was, I'm not going to say negligent, but they were a little bit on the sly side, I suppose, in going into executive session to talk about annexation that none of the cities around was aware of. And so with that, I'll sit down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, my name's Melissa Escobar. I'm 2451 Murphy Road, Aransas Pass. I just wanted to come up. First of all, I want to let you know that I'm kind of here on behalf to advocate for the people that are opposed to the annexation. I know it's not an item that y'all can discuss with me. What I'm going to tell you today is strictly informative, okay? It kind of complements what Mr. Cheney had spoke about just a little while ago about the reason why you went into the annexation process with the area north of Aransas Pass. The first thing that I want to tell you, Mayor, Council, is that I understand why you did what you did, and most of us do. The idea of Corpus coming into this area and possibly taking over areas, I don't think anybody here really wants that. And considering the timing of the situation, because there was an urgency there, I completely agree with the decision that y'all made. Mr. Cheney is correct, though. I believe so, and I think the rest of us do, that imminent threat of Corpus Christi coming into Aransas Pass has probably dissipated to some extent, even though I don't always trust what we're told. You know, sometimes we just kind of have to play it by ear. One of the things that I wanted to let you know, though, there has been a lot of information that's been circulated. At first they were going to come into our ETJ, and then they were going to come into our city limits. Annexation law is very complicated, and sometimes we don't always understand what's going on there. And through reading the law and some clarification, we've pretty much determined that they can't encroach into the ETJ and the city limits, and I believe I'm correct on that. But they can definitely come up to the north side because there is an area there. Accessing the waterways is a little bit blocked, but there is areas on the north side that they can come into. That would be a nice thing to stop. What I wanted to put emphasis on is that there was a post made by the city manager where he says it's kind of Corpus or it's Aransas Pass. And at the time, because of the urgency of this, it really did feel like it was either Corpus or Aransas Pass. And that's where I kind of play devil's advocate and I go, I can see the city's perspective on this, and we don't want that. What I wanted to tell you today is that there are actually other options available to us. And I don't know if you're familiar with a bill that's sitting in Senate committee right now. It's called HB 347. Okay, HB 347 has been proposed and passed overwhelmingly in the House. And what it does is it stops forced annexations by municipalities. For a city government, that's probably a scary thing to hear because it kind of takes a little bit away the control, because sometimes we have to annex outside of that area for, you know, whatever reason. But HB 347 is, and they're anticipating that it may possibly pass next month. So there's a high probability of that. I want you to know that when you go in to deliberate in an executive session on these annexation items that you do have, I just want you to have the information necessary for you to make an educated decision. Okay, I want you to know that there's other options available. That bill is looking at possibly passing in the beginning of June. There's a strengthening amendment in there that if it's passed, then Abbott can sign off on it, and then it goes into effect immediately. That's a wonderful thing because that could actually stop Corpus Christi from coming any further into closer to Aransas Pass. Also, I'm a big supporter of the Tier 2 petition. San Patricio County has that out right now. The Tier 2, I'm sure you're familiar with it. That also is a petition to get San Patricio County listed as a Tier 2 so that they can stop annexations also, and it's done by the voters. Council, Mayor, I just want to let you know that even though it may be a little frustrating to think that there may be bills out there that would stop the forced annexation process, because sometimes we feel that it's necessary, but it is actually a very wonderful thing because it gives the power back to the people to decide if they want to be in your city. And one of the things that you want is you want people to be here. And with time, when the city strengthens, its infrastructure strengthens, we recover from the hurricane, our water system's doing better, our sewer lines are doing better, people are going to want to be here. And you want people who come in here. You don't want a disgruntled people being annexed into the city or a hostile environment. You want the people to seek you out and come here, and that will come with time. But you have work that needs to be done here. And I would just like for you to consider these things that are out right now.
Sure will.
They can definitely restrict Corpus from coming any further. They do restrict you, but there's nothing greater for you to look at your people and say, I want you to have that ability to make that decision yourself, giving the power back to them. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? Okay, now we're going to go into executive session for section 551.071, SIP 071 of the Texas Open Meeting Act to meet with his attorney to seek legal advice on a matter in which the duties of the attorney to the city council under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meeting Act relating to Thomas Dutton versus City of Aransas Pass, cause number S-18-6046 CV-B in the 156th District Court in San Patricio, County, Texas. Daniel Jimenez and Paul Harrison versus City of Aransas Pass, cause number S-15-6059-CV-C in the 13th Court of Appeals. And we have La Nina Chip and, of course, the annexation proceedings. And then section 551.074 to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline of dismissal of a public officer or employment, city attorney. So, how y'all doing? We'll be right back at some point. And it's time is 7:57.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm going up there Wednesday.
Watch your head, Ross.
Okay, here we go. We're going to reconvene in open session to consider and take action, if any, on any items discussed in the executive session. And we have listened to y'all's comments, and we asked that the map be reduced substantially so there are not so many people impacted by it. This is the minimal amount that will be annexed so that we are protected from Corpus Christi. The public hearing for Phase 1 is scheduled for April 30th and May 1st.
So Mindy is now passing out a very reduced amount for annexation, the least amount that we can annex as a city to protect our ETJ and our corridors from Corpus Christi. It is substantially reduced.
And I know that there was a comment thrown out there about maybe Corpus Christi backing off, but when I took that trip to Austin, there was definitely no signs of Corpus Christi ever backing out. So we kind of really need to do the best we can for our city to protect our boundary lines and make sure that we don't get contained by Corpus Christi and be just the same size that we are now. We have to do whatever we have to do to be able to protect our city, to be able to grow a little bit bigger, because Corpus is not going to stop. And Corpus is going to do their annexation. And the comment was said, we're not going to stop. So, there we go.
And most of you, we took the roll call from tonight, and we looked at where you all lived, and that's what we were considering. That's why we were in there for that period of time. And most of you will not be annexed. If you look at that map, your addresses are not in the annexation area.
It's very important that we also keep in the back of our minds that Rockport Terminals is going to be bought, and that is going to be a bustling industrial site. And we will have large tankers, and we will have major road tankers up and down the roads. That is going to happen. And the owners of that property do not want Aransas Pass to annex them. They would rather be in Corpus Christi annexation. And that is going to happen. That is going to happen. Roxanne?
It's a total of 68 trucks. Okay. That's for both phase 1 and phase 2? That's just for phase 1. Okay. And phase 1 is the minimal amount that the city needs to annex. Okay. To make sure that Corpus does not take 35 miles. Okay. And the next phase is? We'll discuss that.
Understanding that with your, I'll say about your EJ, that be no other city in Texas can infringe on your EJ, so this would be necessary.
Correct. There is a small, may I answer, Mayor?
Yes,
There-
please.
ETJ. ETJ.
Extraterritorial jurisdiction.
Even further after that, like I said, here.
That's phase two, sir. Phase two will primarily be the industrial commercial areas, not residential.
And do we have an estimated time it will be in that phase? Will it go after this annexation or will it be overlapping?
We will be discussing phase two in just a few minutes. As soon as the mayor calls it, I'll explain.
Make the motion for the first one.
Billy?
So we got just one motion, right?
Now we call the next item.
The resolution?
No, we're gonna call it. So Mayor, call 15-4, please.
Okay.
Read it.
You need to call it, then I'll read it.
Okay, and you're talking about consider an act of the resolution number 2019-888, declaring city intends to begin annexation of up to 1,400 acres of land into the terminal limits of the city of Aransas Pass, directing the city manager to prepare a service plan for the extension of municipal services to the proposed annexation area, and setting, posting, and publishing 2 public hearings on annexation.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council member. My name is Roxanne Pice-Catronio. I am the Aransas Pass City Attorney. We have discussed with the public that initially, when we were all reacting to Corpus Christi's 7,200 acre annexation, we felt it was necessary to file an intent to annex an area that was a large area. It was 1,800 plus tracts. 1,800 plus acres. We have reduced that in size. We believe that has not been adopted yet, but that's the intent of the council, is to reduce it down to the phase 1 green area, which completely eliminates a substantial number of residential people who are here, are residential people who reside in the proposed area. With that said, the minimal amount that we would be annexing in the maps that were presented tonight for phase 1 is the minimal amount to push Corpus off of our 35 bypass. It is also the minimal amount that we need to make sure that we protect a portion of the commercial areas that are coming in on the bypass. But that's not the only thing that needs protection, because when we annex phase 1, our ETJ will go out and protect us from Corpus coming into our ETJ. The problem is that there is House Bill 347. House Bill 347 is a bill that will prohibit cities from annexing ever, no matter what size you are, unless you have permission from the people who you intend to annex. With that said, Corpus Christi learned about House Bill 347, and as recently as 42 hours ago, lobbied and interacted with the House Bill 347's author, State Representative King. And they added a provision in that bill that said if a city has initiated proceedings by resolution to establish annexation, they are accepted from being annexed. They're accepted from not annexing. What this means is that cities are on a clock time to get as annexed as much as they possibly can. Right now, there are areas of the bypass, even after phase 1, there are areas of the bypass and there are areas of our coastline that are in our ETJ. The industries could come in and not be feared of being annexed, which means they would not be subject to any taxes, because the power of annexation would have been taken away. I'm going to stop for a second and see if that makes sense. So it is imperative that the city consider a phase 2. The phase 2 to initiate annexation of phase 2. Once we initiate this annexation of phase 2, the phase 2 is a large area. It consists of 98 tracts. The city may consider reducing the size of it, just like we reduced the size of the phase 1 annexation. That is yet to be discussed and finalized by this council. But we must initiate phase 2 tonight, because House Bill 347 has not been signed tonight. The minute it is signed by the governor, it freezes all annexations from the future, except for those who have initiated the resolution, such as Corpus. Corpus is very much aware of this deadline, and so it would not surprise me if next week Corpus annexes more, or initiates the annexation of more, because they too are aware of this House Bill 347 deadline. So with that said, Mayor, I'd like for the members of our public to understand our true intent is to protect our interests. And so with that said, I'd like to propose a resolution to initiate annexation of Phase 2. It's at up to 1,400 acres. It's 98 tracts. And if we can turn the page, you'll know that the Texas Local Government Code allows a city to annex, but we have to have 2 public hearings for it. And we have to ask the city manager to create a service plan. The service plan for Phase 1 will be available at the first public hearing, April 30th. The phase plan for this particular annexation that we are introducing will be available at its first public hearing, which will be May 17th. The second public hearing for this Phase 2 will be May the 18th. If you'll take a look at the next slide, you will actually see the proposed annexation of Phase 2, which is the 35 bypass and the shoreline, the 35 business. If you'd like a copy of that, that's public information. We'll make sure you have it.
We should have it like we did this.
We'll give that to you in just 10 minutes, ma'am.
There you go. She'll go get them now.
In this area of Phase 2, 68% of the tracts are owned by people who do not reside in the city of Aransas Pass. Most of them are commercial, industrial. A lot of the larger tracts have actually contacted me. The property owners of the largest tracts have contacted me in this Phase 2 while seeking a voluntary annexation because they do not want to be a part of Corpus Christi. I suspect the Phase 2 annexation will have a reduced number of residents who will be upset because there really aren't residential properties in this Phase 2 area.
May I say again, this Phase 2 is up to 1,400 acres and can be reduced as needed, just like we did on Phase 1.
Yes, ma'am. If we'll turn to the next slide, you'll see our annexation schedule for the proposed Phase 2 level. You initiate the resolution tonight. It doesn't mean that you're going to annex all of it. You'll annex, like the Councilmember Scruggs said, perhaps a reduced version, maybe the same amount. Written notices are going to be mailed and sent to all the property owners of this Phase 2 area. That will be done by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'm sorry, by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning at the Aransas Pass Post Office. On May 1st, we will have public notice sent out for a public hearing, and it's going to be published in the newspaper. On May 17th and 18th, we'll have our first and second public hearing. And if you adopt any portion of this Phase 2 annexation, it will be done on June the 8th of 2019. Any questions from the council?
Well, I make a motion, we approve resolution number 2019-888.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. I make a motion, we adjourn this meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.